facing 25 years in prison from the U.S. authorities, we took a detour from the Acapulco conference in Mexico and met up with two fugitives on the run, and this is their story. So we're here with John and Lily. I guess first of all, why don't you guys tell us a little bit about how did you guys first meet?
Well, we met in college at Kent State University in Ohio. I had just gotten out of prison for growing marijuana.
Well, how did you first get into marijuana cultivation?
That kind of was a interesting progression for me because I've always been an entrepreneur like my whole life. Then hanging out with some friends, we finally got what was like good weed. They called it KB at the time, or pine bud or whatever. And then like I found out how much that stuff cost, and I was like, okay, I guess I gotta grow weed. And going to prison just kind of made me like want to do it more.
What do you know about extracts, the medicinal benefits, or anything you know about how this works and why you got into producing it?
It was kind of a natural progression for us because like a week into our relationship, her dad bought her rollerblades for her birthday, and she decided to go down one of the biggest hills in town, and it didn't go very well for her, and she split her jaw down the middle and both sides.
I landed on my jaw. I felt it bend in half. It was really not good. Spit my teeth out.
All in front of a police officer.
He made eye contact with me through his rearview mirror and went back to what he was doing as I was like on the sidewalk.
Like we loaded her into the car and drove her to the hospital and everything, and didn't do anything. Like
that's kind of a big part of what led us into making hashes and extracts is the need for more than just smoking. We
lived in mainly illegal states, so we only had access to 5-6 strains at a time. So eventually your tolerance to those strains does build, so you need something like hash, and then hash can be pretty harsh if you're smoking a lot of it, and I naturally, the market's forced me into dabs, and I kind of understand, the longer I've been in dabs, the more I've understood why the markets are going this way.
So now you guys are in Acapulco. I mean, that was then, this is now. That was
like 4 years ago.
Right, and that was because you were experiencing pain and needed to get relief, and so you did the best thing you could do, which is starting to create extracts so you could relieve her pain, right?
Yeah, I started growing immediately because I knew it was going to be an important part of my life, because it was as soon as I, had the injury, I realized how important it was going to be, and not just the recovery, but the rest of my life.
In America and around the world, there's a misunderstanding about dabs. I see a lot of articles saying how people have died, which is untrue. So there seems to be a misconception, a misunderstanding. What did the authorities eventually have to say about when they found out you guys were making extracts?
They are under the impression that it's a product that can kill you. When I was explaining to my probation officer, I smoked about a half ounce of dabs, and her first question was, "And you're not dead?"
It's like they were confused, thinking you guys were doing meth or something, or...
But the weird thing is people that were doing meth and heroin were being slapped on the wrist. They were let out. Essentially, it was a revolving door for them.
What did they say were the charges that were going to be?
We're currently charged, the two main ones that really carry the weight are manufacture of a controlled dangerous substance and assembly of chemicals, which are the same charges you'll be hit with if you're manufacturing meth or LSD or something like that.
Wow. So how many years are they talking here? What is the system? What is the state threatening you with?
Before we left, about 25 years total if we got the max sentence.
Yeah, before we went on the run.
We might have
25, somewhere in there is what they could throw at us, but that was without the misdemeanor and some other shit they could tack on.
So you're facing 25 years in prison for creating something to help Lily with her pain, something that's never ever killed anyone before. You had a difficult decision to make. Tell us about going on the run.
Well, it wasn't very difficult
really
actually
wasn't.
for us, because we had been looking into leaving the country for years, and when we told them like we're going to Mexico, they're like, you guys are retarded, like
You're screwed.
stupid. Like,
You're screwed.
Have you found your potential home for now, or are you going to continue?
we're gonna give it a try if we can make a living here, and we definitely enjoy it here. We have longer term goals of trying to start a long-term organic permaculture farm.
For all the people out there with these misconceptions, what would you have to say to them, for the people who just don't understand, the people who think it's dangerous?
Essentially, it's just an extraction process that we do to every other plant on the planet. We're extracting the essential oils, the fatty lipids, the
Like
tannins,
the
stuff
lavender
like
oils and all
that.
these
Rose
essential
oil.
oils.
You can use hot water to extract essential oils. You can use any type of solvent like alcohol, butane, hexane. A lot of the things that are solvents, though, are hazardous to human health.
Well, what is the government so afraid of then? Why would they want to go so hard on you for a plant that's never killed anybody? What are they so afraid of?
It seems that the research is suggesting it in its concentrated forms, it replaces most pharmaceuticals.
Well, it seems people can make something of themselves with this plant in so many different kinds of ways, and they're almost in fear of the entrepreneur and the people expanding their consciousness, enlightening themselves.
And I've met people that have done very large doses of RSO and dabs, like on sustained basis, and have cured crazy ailments. Like, the doctors told me I was gonna die in 3 or 6 months, and here I am, and it's like, whoa.
So you think maybe it's financially driven to keep the money in the pockets of the pharmaceutical industry?
In a lot of ways, that's part of it.
That's definitely part of it, but the pharmaceutical industry is aligning with the interest of the people in power, and the people in power just want us to be dependent.
Do you think it's possible that these charges could ever be dropped?
That's going to depend on how the financial position of the U.S. government ends up playing out. It seems like they're going to go broke sometime in the next 5 years.
We're being told by the mainstream that marijuana is the gateway to other dangerous things, but we're starting to learn that it's the gateway to liberty, really. Do you think this could be that key issue to really wake people up to the true tyranny that they're under?
You almost need to feel the pain personally of the state, even if it's not to you, it's somebody in your immediate life. And the drug war, specifically the war on marijuana, has affected so many people that there's almost nobody that hasn't felt its pain.
So you guys have managed to, here in Mexico, make some pretty quality dabs. How did you go about, figuring out how to do that down here?
Essentially, it was ingenuity, knowing what materials you can use to make your own devices, essentially.
Yeah. Well, we know that there's such a gray area in the laws, and everything is kind of in the air right now. Things are going to be changing eventually soon. And I would almost suggest that you guys are kind of trailblazers who, when things are legalized, people are going to look back at people like you who did this, took the risk.
Yeah, we're definitely not the first. There's definitely people that have taken a lot for, on a public level even. It's definitely risky and stuff, but there's a lot of support in the general society that some people didn't have when they got busted. So,
What do you think is the most important thing that people need to understand, about what you guys have done, what you guys are doing?
I want people to take away from our story that you don't really know what you can do until you're forced to do it.
But what do you think of the movement that's happening globally, it seems? Canada is on the brink of legalization, potentially Mexico, Colorado, Washington just did it.
I think at this point they're using it as a distraction because the world is in such crazy times, and they're so
hey, be happy, weed's legal.
I think it was kind of how they brought the gay rights issue up in front of everybody. They're essentially oh man, we made this illegal and now we've built this massive decentralized economy all around the world. We need to find a way to centralize it, and they're trying to write the laws in a way that centralizes the power of the weed industry in the hands of the state.
We're seeing the exact same thing in Canada. They realize the people do want this, so they're going to figure out how to regulate and control and destroy the entrepreneurs, the mom and pop shops who built this thing over the last few decades, and essentially come in and take it over.
Yeah, I think commercialization of it could be great. We could have more clarity in what the products are, but that needs to be free commercialization. It needs to be competition, not the state saying who's in charge.
So you guys going to continue producing extracts here in Acapulco?
It seems like there might be a market demand for it. We've heard some interesting things about what it's like to be involved in the weed industry in Mexico. So.
Yeah. And any final thoughts on just the absurdity of having to be on the run facing 25 years for something that has never ever harmed anyone?
It's even more absurd to me because this is like the second time I've faced this, and I'm not even 25 years old yet, so.
I had never even been arrested or anything for anything before this.
You're being treated like a criminal who's murdered somebody or something.
Yeah, and
It says a lot about the war on drugs.
Indeed.
Now's the time to take action. Don't hesitate in life right now because the world is changing rapidly.
Yeah, just don't back down. If you do end up with charges, consider all options, and fleeing over the border is actually pretty nice.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think that's good. I think I can use...
Ready to smoke some dabs?
Yeah. All right. The things that Stephen Harper has been doing, the things you've been fighting against for 14 years, how do you know you're not being duped into voting for Justin Trudeau to carry on these same old things, the same old left-right, same two sides of the same bird?
Your concerns are not my concerns. I don't have any of those concerns.